Second situation in a professional communication would come if you are working would be a group discussion or a debate. Now, some of the points I've already discussed about the group discussion. One very important point I need to discuss, which is again related to the previous point, which is about the meeting. In the group discussion, like an interview I had mentioned that we need to remember the stem. We need to remember the stem. And in the stem we know, in a group discussion, S means self-control, T means thought process. In the interview, the T meant transparent. In the group discussion, this T means thought process. I am just writing this thought process part of it. Now, this is a very, very important factor. Thought process is a very important factor in being or in having a effective communication. All right. Now, what do I mean by that thought process? Why should I have a very clear thought process when I'm discussing or to make my communication effective? Now, consider there is a group discussion going on, or consider there is a debate going on. Again, my point over here to be effective communicator, as I said, what to speak, when to speak, and how to speak. Now, what to speak we have discussed in quite a bit examples, where the moment when we come to thought process, that's where this point comes, when to speak. The thought process is directly related to the concept or the fact about when to speak. Now, if my thought process is clear, how can my thought process be clear? When I have heard the other people, when I have understood the other people. First thing I mentioned, when you have heard correctly, when you have heard completely, and then if you have relevant and correct and proven data, then you should start speaking. So if all these three things are in place, that is, you have heard them correctly, you have heard them completely, and you have the data, it is a rational, logical reason that you are having a clear thought process. That's when you should start speaking. Now, in a debate or in a group discussion, it's not necessary that you speak a lot, but it is necessary that you speak the point, speak to the point, speak something which is necessary. Again and again I'm repeating, we have a big misconception. Communication means passing of information from one person to another. Communication means passing of ideas from one person to another. Communication means passing of thought process from one person to another. I am sorry, that is not communication. It is communication, it is an incomplete communication. A complete communication or an effective communication is when these ideas are being passed, when this information is passed from one person to another person, when this thought process is passed from one person to another person, we get a relevant response. We just don't get a response, we get a relevant response. If you are getting a relevant response, that's wherein we will call it as a effective communication. So the second point, or the very important point which we are discussing over here, is that which is related to when to speak, is your thought process. You should have a clear thought process when you are talking, and that can be achieved if you are able to hear them completely, if you are able to understand them completely, and if you have got data. Let us take an example. Please, all of you all, please listen to this. It is a small test I am taking. All of you all, please listen to this. Okay? That's wherein you need to understand. Now say for example, let's take the same example. What is that example? The example is about 3 people in the team are not able to achieve their target. The target could be anything, selling the product or completing your coding or something, transactions are there, anything. 3 people are not able to meet the target. Once again, I'm repeating, are you all able to hear me, people?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay. Situation. In a team, there are 3 people who have not met the target. And I am asking you a question, how can you display your effective communication skills with reference to the point of thought process? I have already mentioned the thought process is related to these 3 activities. When you have heard correctly, when you have heard completely, and you have relevant correct data to prove it. Situation, there is a person or there are 3 people who have not met their targets. There are 3 people, those who have not met their targets. So what should be my communication? How should I address this situation so that the others or those 3 people or the entire team gets a positive outcome of this particular meeting? What should be my thought process? It is a difficult question I'm asking, I know, but it is important. And as I mentioned, it is not only in your professional life this will be important, this will be effective, this will help you in your personal life also. You got to be very, very careful about it. So what are the things you should have done to convey this message? People, we do not have a lot of time, so I would just wait for a few more seconds. If nobody responds, I need to get into the answer for it. If you all are able to respond to it, that's fine. Again, the situation, 3 people have not met the target. Now we need to know how to address, and with reference to the point which is thought process. We are talking about a thought process. Okay, fine. Now, if it is getting a little difficult for you all to understand what do I mean by this thought process, let me give you a simple day-to-day example. Okay, now a simple day-to-day example is, say for example, you're watching a cricket match. All right. When a team wins, there is not much of analysis to be done. But when a team loses, everyone goes into criticizing the team. They try to find out errors. They try to find out misses what they might have done. And they start probing. They start digging. Now, if a batsman or the team has lost, they start saying, you know what, if the captain would have come for the batting a little bit earlier, we could have won. If the person, if the bowlers, if the fast bowlers were used, probably would have won. There are a number of reasons what we find out to address or to prove that that's the reason why we have lost. But please, that's not the exact reason. If we go deep, let's come to this example when these 3 people are not able to meet their target. Now, it is a good point or a good situation for us to introspect. Now, what do I mean by introspection? Introspection means going back completely from the point when these three people have joined. If these three people have not met the targets, you just cannot criticize them that you did not do this well, you did not do this well, you did not do this well. That's the reason you have not met the target. Now, you need to address this issue by doing a complete retro introspection. That means go back, go back, go back. You have to go back to the first step when we hired these three people. We need to ensure whether we have done the correct hiring. Was there any misses in that? Again, I am referring to the thought process. There is a team of managers who are sitting, and the managers are trying to discuss why these three people in our organization are not able to meet the target. It is very easy to say, sir, they were not meeting the target because they are not performing, they were not present in the organization. That's very simple. The meeting is over, but then it's not giving us an outcome which is necessary for the growth of the organization. So we need to go back. We need to go back and check whether these people were hired properly. Second, whether these people were given proper training. Third, whether these people were given proper support to achieve their target. Fourth, whether these people were monitored properly. Once again, people, please, all of you all, it is very, very simple, but we do not follow this. There is a meeting going on between 4 or 5 managers and the management team. They are discussing about 3 people in our team or in an organization not meeting the target. How do we need to keep our thought process in place is that we just cannot say that these people did not perform well. To solve this problem, let us give them a warning letter. To solve this issue, just make sure that you focus on extra monitoring on them. Don't become a policeman and be at the back of them, but you need to go back. Go back where? Go back to the first step. We need to ensure that we have done the right hiring. We need to ensure that we have given them the proper training. We need to ensure that we have checked and we are convinced that we have given them the proper support. Fourth, we need to ensure that we have monitored them correctly and regularly. That's what I mean to say the thought process. So if I am a person who needs to address this issue to my director, I will be effective in that communication only if I go by this method or only if I address these points. Sir, I have observed that these 3 people were hired in such and such batch, and I've gone through their resume. Their resume seems to be fine. And I've gone through the remarks made by the HR. That also seems to be absolutely fine. So I don't think that this was a hiring issue. However, I have observed their trainings. During the training, they did not have consistent scores during the small assessments which we had during the training. So that is one probable reason I feel that these 3 people are not performing properly. So I would suggest that we put them for training once again. That is one thing which I have observed. Another thing which I have observed about these 3 people is that we had not given adequate support to them in terms of somebody helping them or some kind of tools which they can carry to perform well. However, that is not a very big reason because there are many other people who are performing without that support which I am discussing. Fourth point is that I have observed that we have very effectively and nicely we have monitored these people. So of my little observation, I would like to mention that these three people probably have not performed well. Probably we have not given them adequate training. Second thing is that we have not given them adequate support. Support part is not a very important factor because others are performing with the same amount of support which is given. But in these three cases, we will try to give them full support. We will assign a senior person to help them achieve their target, and we will put them across for the training. This is my solution about these three people. Everyone was able to hear this address? People, are you able to listen to me? Are you all able to hear me? I need an acknowledgement over here.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Okay. Do you all have any questions about it? We are talking about effective communication. So why do I say that this way, if I have addressed the problem, I have made an effective communication? Because I have not only given the problem, I have found the reason for the problem and I have given a solution for the problem. I have connected the complete tips. I have given the reason. I have identified the problem. I have identified the reason for the problem, and I have also given the solution for the problem. That's where I can be sure that by the time I have a next meeting, this issue will be resolved. That's where I mean to say it is an effective communication. Anybody has any question or doubt? Great. If there is any question which you come across, if there is any doubt which you come across in the future, please make a note and ask me. So the same thing as I was saying, in a group discussion, I said thought process. So if your thought process is clear, as I said, there is a group of managers who are sitting and discussing an issue about a problem. If you have a good thought process, you will not only address the problem, you will not only give the solution to the problem, but you will also go back and find the reason for that particular problem, why that problem has come in the first place. If we are able to find the root cause of that problem, there is a good chance that this problem will not occur itself. We all have been hearing this from our childhood days. Our parents, elders are always saying, precaution is better than cure. Precaution is better than cure. So if I find the medicine, the treatment is half done. If I find the root of the disease and kill that root, probably I don't have to waste my energy, money, and my resources in having a medicine. Let's cure. We all are hearing the world is trying to make the entire world polio free. They are killing the virus itself, and we have achieved it. So that's what exactly I'm trying to say. Effective communication is not only finding out the problem. Effective communication is not only finding out the solution. Effective communication is something which we need to address or go back and find the root cause so that we can kill or completely eradicate the root cause. So that is what I meant by thought process. There are many people who will talk big things, but if you have a proper thought process, you will be able to go to the root cause. So a good thought process is not only finding out the problem, is not only finding out the solution, but also going and finding out the reason why that particular problem existed. Is everyone clear about this thought process which I'm talking about? Once again,
Yes, sir,
is everyone clear about the thought process which I'm talking about? It's very important for you to have an effective communication. You should have a clear thought process. Is everyone clear about it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good. That's great. Excellent.